And welcome back to Message from a Watchman. You have been listening to The Guards by Symmanayah. The Guards. This is part 3 of The Guards by Symmanayah. I pray that this presentation makes it clear that we have a responsibility and we've been given an assignment as a guard, and together we are guards. We'll continue after the disclaimer has been read. As I read a disclaimer, this is important, and so you will find it in each video and each presentation. The views expressed in this presentation do not reflect the views of any technological portal I use. My views do not reflect the management and or staff of YouTube, Ustream, Facebook, Talk, or any other such communication portals. Like with any information presented, you are advised to research and seek confirmation. Each of us are held accountable for our own actions and decisions. Let the presentation begin. So have you given much thought? Have you given much thought to what apathy and complacency is? We see that running rampant when people begin to lose hope. They feel that they've exhausted all avenues, all venues. We see that when confusion takes the stage and division is running rampant. Let us realize as guards, as believers, as individuals that are growing with each day, let us realize that in that growth, in that passing of each day, there is growth. There should be growth. It might be minor or minute, but there is growth. There is something to be learned each day. Our progress, our growth, whether we're maturing in this belief, will influence our household members, as well as our household members can influence our growth. As well as we have an obligation to guard the influence of those in our household. That's where it begins first. That's who sees and witness what's going on in our lives first. Members of our household. Assembly places. Do assembly places influence our progress and growth? Absolutely. But we have an obligation, again, to make sure it's sound counsel, sound teaching, righteous fellowship that's contributing to our progress, our growth. Do those in the assembly place, do they witness us progressing in life? What role does media have? Media has a way, whether it be written, video, or audio, sight and sound, of influencing our progress or growth, impeding it. Sometimes we kill so much time arguing and trying to push our beliefs on another person, we're wasting time. Media, shoving videos and audios to prove and support our thought. Or there could be the righteous side, where we're able to share, receive righteous instruction through media, whether it be the internet, recordings, telephone, print, our neighborhood. Can our neighbors honestly say they've watched us grow over the years? Can we say that about our neighbors? Do we care? We should. We should. As living creations of the Most High, we should be mindful of the impact that we have among our neighbors in our neighborhood. Schools. Schools influence. A lot of times school influence the way we talk to one another, how we communicate to one another, the things we share with one another. Schools play a vital role in how we perceive our community, what we're going to do in our community. If anything, if it's nothing more than just being a responsible citizen in the community. Schools influence that. Seniors and peers. Do they watch us? Absolutely. Do they see a degree of progress? Or do they see inconsistency in our walks? Our friends, our peers, what do they see? What do we see? Do we share with those that we see change? That we see progress? That we see growth? If not, maybe we should begin to examine, are there any visions? What are the visions? Did they originate with me? Maybe it's somebody else's vision that Yahushua have moved us to embrace, to support, to be a part of. See, the vision doesn't have to always be an individual vision. But let's take these things under consideration when guarding our tabernacle, our body, our soul. Tradition versus non-traditional. Some traditional things are the very rudiments of righteousness that have been passed down from generation to generation. And there are some traditional things that have been through rumors, people just talking, ill-conceived, unrighteous leaven. So when someone say traditional, all traditional isn't bad. Just like when we think about leaven, all leaven isn't bad. There's righteous leaven and there's unrighteous leaven. There's righteous influence and there's unrighteous influence. Non-traditional, we see sometimes people associate with the term out-of-the-box thinking, ideas, innovation. Non-traditional is not bad when its origins are from above. When it consists of an awakening, a discovery as something that lines up with righteousness, with the scriptures, then non-traditional is not bad. But there are some non-traditional, quote-unquote, innovative ideas that pose a threat. And we must be mindful of that. Be mindful of the buzzwords, that we may grow in maturity, that we may progress along this journey we call life. And as we move forward, we will see that there are other things, other attributes. Did you know it was so much to think about when it comes to the responsibility of a guard? Did you? And now we move forward. We look at another dynamic, strength or weakness. That's right. As a guard, are we strong guards? Are we weak guards? Can we identify the strengths that we've been endowed with in the power and might of the Spirit of Yahushua according to the scriptures? Are we true to ourselves and looking in the mirror and being honest, identifying our weaknesses? This is important. Many of us as believers, we come to points in our lives when we ask ourselves, do we need to make a housing change? Or how do we adjust or adapt our lifestyle, our comings and goings within the house that we're in, within our living arrangements? Housing change can mean the way we govern, the order of service, the way we conduct ourselves within our house. And housing change could mean leaving out of that residence altogether. Leaving. Transitioning to a different housing environment. Our image. How do we govern ourselves? What do we look like? How do people perceive us when they look at us? Do we dress the part? Is there a specific dress that's called Hebrew dress? Or is it just a matter of being modest and not provocative? What image do we portray as a guard? Do we portray an image of stiff-necked individuals? Or individuals that moves under the guidance of the Spirit of Yahushua? Under the motivating factor that comes from above. Our image, location. Sometimes we may have to leave. Might be down the street, might be across town, might be out of town, maybe out of state, maybe out of country. Do we have a ready mind if the Spirit of Yahushua came and guided us and say it's time to move, it's time to relocate? Have we prepared ourselves to say that, okay, I will follow him, I will follow righteous guidance, I will follow his orders? Have we given thought to that? Could we do it with a degree of strength? Or would we be in doubt and wavering when it comes to the location in which we decide to transition to? Employment. Do we have an obligation of what types of jobs? What types of jobs? Have we asked ourselves, how do we determine that pathway? Have we set goals and objectives for ourselves and prayed about it to see if it lines up without destroying our sense of existence as believers? Employment. What are our strengths and weaknesses on our current jobs? What do we take to the job? What do we bring from the job? Yes, it might sound like I'm being long-winded and you say this is boring, but this echoes the sentiment that we have responsibilities as a guard, as guards. Groups and socialization, whatever groups we're in, whatever groups we observe or we interact with, whatever means we socialize with others, we still have that responsibility as guards. And yes, it comes with benefits and consequences. Every action, everything we do will come with some type of benefit or consequences. Some we may pay attention to, some we may not. Some others that will pay attention to, and some they will not. But it's important for us to, in our journey, and if we want to continue to mature and grow strong and be strong in this walk, be strong in fellowship, it would be wise to keep in mind asking questions help expose and helps usher in discoveries that sometimes are pleasant, sometimes they're not so pleasant. But questions like why, what, who, where, when, and how. How, when, where, who, what, why. Questions we should be comfortable with asking one another in an effort to grow closer to one another as family. A family of believers. Moving right along. How many realize that leadership begins with the person in the mirror? That's right, the person in the mirror. Leadership. I mentioned it before in other presentations, but leadership, the person in the mirror. That's when we begin to look and examine and assess ourselves and decide what are we going to do with me, and seek the Father's face and read the scriptures and study and ask, where does it begin with me? Because if I can lead, exhibit, and demonstrate leadership in my own goings and comings, then I demonstrate to others how to make sound decisions in life. Leadership, many people don't realize when it comes to leadership, we're actually servants. We're servants of the Most High. We have individual responsibilities. And individual responsibilities come with accountability. That's right. So many reasons why we should study to show ourselves approved. So as leaders, as individual leaders, as an individual leader of myself, as being guided by the Spirit of Yahushua, I have a responsibility, and yes, I will be held accountable. And let's examine this whole leadership servant action a little bit further. And we shall, as we move and get ready for the next segment. This concludes part 3 of Message from a Watchman. This series is entitled The Guards. Stay tuned for part 4. Stay tuned for part 4.